Before I get into today's video, I did want to take a moment to sort of address the allegations that are coming my way in the past week or so. There are some pretty eagle-eyed viewers that have started to notice a strong resemblance between myself and Keemstar. And as much as I try to ignore or suppress these comments, they only seem to be getting more and more frequent. And so I just wanted to let you know that under legal counsel, I've been advised not to say anything at this time. I know that must be discouraging to hear, but unfortunately I'm just not ready to really talk about it. So with that being said, let's get right into the news. I think it's a great time to be a Godzilla collector with all of the options that we have available on the market. Options means competition, and usually this means that companies have to be more innovative and thoughtful in how they make their products stand out, which usually lets customers reap the rewards. But in our current state of affairs, inflation is running rampant and cost of goods is ramping up for both customers and manufacturers alike. As companies are vying for your hard-earned cash, I do feel like some of their tactics might be turning people away rather than bringing them on board. What spurred this on was a post from a UK retailer called Kapow Toys, who was talking about their relationship with Hasbro, as well as the new Transformers release called Tidal Wave. Allegedly, Hasbro is asking their retail partners to take on a really substantial minimum order amount of this expensive product, when in recent history, comparable products have been discounted really steeply by Hasbro themselves. These discounts on Hasbro Pulse have gotten so low to the point where they're actually below the wholesale price that the retail partners are bringing this inventory in, meaning that they literally cannot compete with Hasbro directly. It is a bit ironic that this is happening with a boat transformer, considering that Hasbro's strategy seems to be flooding the market with inventory, sinking their own price, and then stranding their retail partners. Are you subscribed yet? But it does get me thinking of how some of the Godzilla toy manufacturers might be losing customers in their battle for market share. I have some thoughts about this, but for this video, I wanted to turn it over to you, the viewer. There are literally hundreds of you taking the time to write out comments and to share your stories regarding the topics that I discuss, and to sort of thank you for that, I wanted to take an opportunity to highlight some of the things that you've shared with me. Spoiler alert, not all of them are nice. Let's start with Mondo. I've already given my extensive thoughts on Mondo, and it was with mixed emotions that I saw other people recounting stories of how they've been let down by Mondo's business practices. I've literally never managed to get figures directly from them. Every drop is sold out in seconds via scalpers, and the sole figure of theirs I got was from somebody with buyer's remorse on eBay. Honestly, Mondo is trash. I used to order a bunch of records from them. The last thing I ordered from them was the Rodan soundtrack. When I ordered my reissue of Gojira 84 vinyl record, it arrived so incredibly warped. I don't buy anything from Mondo anymore. I refuse to struggle and suffer to pay a company for a thing they produce. That's not the way I want my relationship with consumer goods to work. At the end of the day, I think no matter the quality of the good you're selling, it's important to make the experience of buying your products as painless as possible, because people don't want to engage in behaviors or activities that leave them feeling frustrated. Now, I didn't really expect this video to be published without coming under fire by scalpers or those who otherwise enjoy the exclusive nature of just how elusive these products can be. Exclusivity absolutely has value in a business like Mondo. If the runs were in the thousands, they would sit around. Collectors wouldn't be as interested if that bit of a hype and exclusivity wasn't there. Many collectors don't want to acknowledge that, but it's factual. You know what's cool? Straw man arguments. I said in my video that depending on the release, there were potentially dozens to hundreds of customers that were missing out due to Mondo's artificial scarcity. I never said thousands, and I never suggested that these products should be mass retailed like Hasbro or Mattel's items. Are you new to collecting? Great start. This is basically how specialty toy companies, especially those that cater to a specific niche, then yes, they thrive on artificial scarcity. It's maddening, but that's how it is. If you want to see the reverse side of it, look at Funko Pops. I said this. Mondo's not the biggest company, and they've been bought out by Funko, the company that is known for just trashing millions of dollars worth of inventory because the products they make are not worth the space they occupy. So like, maybe take a step back and really think about the legacy you want to leave here. Am I new to collecting? The question is, are you new to YouTube? Because typically here what we do is we watch videos before we comment, lest we look like clowns. There were also a few comments suggesting that this is how Sofubi releases work, and I didn't know what I was talking about. First of all, thank you. Second of all, I would agree with that if Mondo themselves didn't show that they already have a solution to this really crummy way of selling things. Mondo has been doing open pre-orders for their soft vinyl releases where you can go in and order 1 or 2 units over the course of a week without needing to worry about things selling out in minutes or hours. They just did this with their Marvel Juggernaut figure, a figure that has so much cake it should come with a bakery. And you might say that's a different license, but I think it's kind of bizarre that the hyper-stylized figures get the open pre-orders where anyone who wants one can get one, where their mainline, movie-accurate releases are so limited. If any other toy line operated this way, you could be assured that there would be riots. There were also multiple people in the comments saying things to the effect of, just set alarms and you'll get things you want. These people are absolutely right. That's how Mondo has set up their business, and that is how you gain the privilege of being able to purchase their products. But that's not going to stop me from asking the question, do we really need to set alarms and chase the thrill of the hunt for these things to mean anything to us? Next up, we're going to talk about SH Monster Arts, which I just did a panel over on the Figure Mania show, and you should definitely go check out that VOD. As an example, the special color version of the Monsterverse Ghidorah, that did feel like a figure where it was like, yeah, the first one was kind of borked. The one that I got, like, it literally crumbled right out of the box.
This guy right here?
Yeah. Yeah, it was...
You mean the one that I have standing without stands right now?
Yes.
What?
Yes, mine crumbled to dust out of the box, Michael. I put up 2 videos regarding Godzilla x Kong. The first one was kind of taking the piss a little bit, but then the second one was meant to be a little bit more of a thoughtful discussion on why we might be seeing these releases. Let's start with that one. If the Godzilla mold wasn't already used 6 times before, I don't think people would be fussing quite as bad. It doesn't matter if you like the new deco, it's going to come with softened details and very loose joints. I would be fine with these if they just fixed the Godzilla sculpt. I'm getting them anyways, as other than a few special color versions, I have every single SH Monster Arts and every stupid 2019 variant. I've bought every previous repaint of this Godzilla, New York store exclusive being the main exception. My main issue is not that this is the 7th time it's been sold, my main issue is that it's the 5th time they've used the degraded head sculpt. The decline after the excellent movie poster version is horrendous, and easy to see to anyone who owns all of these figures. A lot of the negative responses I've seen are coming from customers who are completionists, they like to pick up every release, or folks who are just really frustrated that Monster Arts has yet to release a screen-accurate legendary Godzilla. Some folks saying that it's a shameless cash grab, which, yeah, it could be, but I'm okay with it if it means that we get a Shimo. And by we, I mean you, because I don't buy Monster Arts unless it's something really special. Despite the onslaught of negativity, I've seen folks commenting online about how they're actually kind of excited for these releases, or they feel as though the state of Monster Arts is nowhere near as dire as others would make it out to be. The blue on Godzilla looks fire, might have to get it. I haven't bought an SH Monster Arts in a while, but when I saw the new Godzilla and Kong, even if they don't look that new, I considered buying them. May do that next month. Of the figures we got last year, Mecha King Ghidorah, Night Color version Shin, Gigan, Night Color version 2019, Godzilla 1991 minus Goji, and the Mecha Godzilla set, we got like 1 actual bad figure. As someone who keeps the Monster Arts discourse at an arm's length at all times, I feel like some folks have been signaling the decline of the line for like at least 7 years. And just thinking it through, for the line to be alive and well as it is, I feel like the number of people who enjoy this line must be far greater than the folks who complain. And I do think it's a bit of a shame that we don't get to see too many of those folks voicing their praise of the figures, or that when they do, they are getting accused of meat riding or fanboying or whatever. Next up is Hiya Toys. That's right, Mecha Plus, the company that is simultaneously putting the final nail in Monster Arts' coffin while also making flight stands that might actually be worse than nothing. Hiya is superior in every way. Consistent paint, good articulation, immaculate likeness to the characters in the movie, and durability for less than half of an SH Monster Arts figure? Yeah, I think I know where my money's going for the new movie. I'm willing to wait for SH Monster Arts Godzilla Evolved, but for Shimo, if Hiya Toys releases a Shimo before SH Monster Arts even has an announcement, I'd just get the Hiya. There might not even be 2 to choose from, as I could totally see Tamashi skipping over Shimo, possibly Scar King as well. They haven't done any of the Monsterverse original kaiju so far, so I'm not sure this movie will buck the trend. Haya's King Ghidorah 2019, Rodan, and Godzilla 2019 figures not only cost less, but they look way better and for the most part are articulated more without huge gaps. Haya all the way for me. Oh, and most importantly, Haya is way more screen accurate. It's not even a contest. I gotta say, whatever goodwill that's been burnt by Monster Arts sure seems to be earned by Haya Toys. But I assure you, not all is well. With an influx of repaints and retools, many customers are starting to feel fatigued by Haya's business strategy. Even though this does look cool, I'm starting to get tired of the repaints. Instead of seeing titans, kaijus that never got figures like Behemoth, Scylla, Methuselah, Kamazots, and etc. Why not a Godzilla from another era? This is the 6th figure of a Godzilla legendary. When can we expect Mechagodzilla? The comment about Mechagodzilla is actually particularly interesting because Mechagodzilla 21 was Haya's first tease before they announced that they had the license. It was also featured again in their announcement post, and yet we're going on 3 years later and we haven't seen anything. To get a Skullcrawler, a female Muto, a Godzilla 2014, and a Skull Island Kong all before Mechagodzilla is kind of strange. And as one of the few Monster Arts releases that I have, I would not be surprised if Haya looked at the engineering of that Mechagodzilla sculpt and just decided, not worth it. But back to the point about repaints, I think if customers' biggest complaint is that there are too many repaints, I actually think your business is in pretty good shape. NECA was guilty of this too, but outside of Pacific Rim, their Godzilla releases really left a lot to be desired in terms of likeness. I think at this point we all expect from Haya Toys a Atomic Blast Godzilla 14, a Final Battle Kong from Skull Island, number 10 Skullcrawler from Godzilla vs. Kong, maybe even a beam variant of Ghidorah. And while Haya might be getting a little bit predictable, they don't seem to be running into the same issues that NECA had in terms of likeness, especially now that we're starting to see what they're planning for their classic Godzilla line. And finally, let's talk about Super 7. Unlike the other companies that I've talked about thus far, I almost feel as though Super 7 started on really rocky ground. Myself included, there were many people that took issues with their first Ultimates releases. Glossy plastic, stiff articulation, and unarticulated mouths were some of the core issues that people had with those releases. I didn't, and I don't find these things to be deal breakers for the figures that I already have. I'm not going to sell them or offload them, anything like that. But with 3 waves of Ultimates solicited before the first wave landed, I saw an abundance of people jump ship and cancel their pre-orders once they got the first releases in hand. Wave 4 went up for order just as Wave 1 was landing, and I waited with bated breath to see if my boy Mogera was going to make minimum order quantity, amidst a flurry of rabid internet comments. Super 7 was quick to act on the feedback that they received from Wave 1, and they delayed Wave 2 in order to add a little bit more of a matted paint to Burning Godzilla's skin, as well as to individually paint the teeth. And when Wave 2 landed, I think the consensus was that those figures were better than Wave 1, but some of those core engineering problems were still present. And as all of this was happening, we had a really solid San Diego Comic-Con release, followed up by a pretty lackluster New York Comic-Con release. And then we came to Wave 3, which contained a very unique Godzilla variant, unlike anything that we've ever received in figure form before, followed by a more expensive but even more impressive looking Destoroyah figure. I think it's more than fair to say that the reception of Wave 3 would be the thing that makes or breaks Super 7's Ultimates line. And now that we're starting to get these things in hand, people seem to really like them. As I wait for them to land up here in the Great White North, the biggest compliment that I can pay them is that Steven seems to like them, after really not liking the first 2 waves. I'll share my thoughts when I finally get mine in hand, but the point I want to drive home is that Super 7 really seems to be fighting tooth and nail to get back that customer goodwill, to listen to what folks are saying, and I do think that it's working. We're going to get a -1 Godzilla with all new engineering. We're hearing now that there's articulated jaws being prototyped and tested internally, and I hope that people give them a shot. And I think that they're also earning back goodwill, not just with their Ultimates line, but with their Reaction line. I'm seeing folks online, some pretty prominent people, who hated the Reaction line. They thought they were overpriced Happy Meal toys, and now I'm seeing them actually going out and buying multiple figures. And I'll never know what clicked in their head, obviously, but I do think that once you get over the initial disappointment of something not being what you hoped it would be, you can start to appreciate things for what they actually are. I've talked offline with Kyle a little bit more about their -1 Godzilla, and I really do think that will be the thing that makes or breaks the Toho Ultimates line moving forward, and I think that's really shaping up to be a strong release. I hope that people show up for it, because there's a lot more that can be done with that movie, and a lot more that I think Super 7 wants to do with that movie. But maybe I'm just a sucker for a good redemption story, what can I say? That's gonna be it from me, but I'm curious to hear even more from you. Godzilla or otherwise, what are some companies doing to burn or earn your goodwill? Let me know in the comment section down below. I'd like to thank the Category 3 channel members for their support, as well as everyone else who continues to be a member for this channel. If you'd like to join for less than $1 a month, please consider hitting the button down below. Twitter and Discord links are in the description. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll talk to you again soon.